native Californian from Los Angeles with a New England education, she found her true home in the San Francisco Bay Area, where she prepared for dating and life by attending spiritual ceremonies, working in free clinics, leading women's backpacking trips, hiking the local Green Hills, identifying as a lesbian feminist in the 1970s and 80s, and earning graduate degrees in women's studies, statistics, and educational research. She drew upon her 30 years as a social science researcher and 10 years as a relationship workshop assistant to create the dating project in her first book, 50 First Dates After 50. Hello and good evening, Carolyn Lee Arnold.
Hello, Carolyn. Welcome.
Hello. Wonderful to be here. Thank you, Tom. What a great introduction. Thanks.
Thank you.
We are delighted to have you. There's so many areas to talk, but I just want to learn about the social science background. Tell me about that. Let's start right there.
Wow. Thank you. I trained as a sociologist of education, and I have a master's degree in statistics. And I was really trained to do high-level statistical research on education, in which you write reports of statistics for the government. That's really boring, turns out, and you don't see a teacher or a student. So I ended up in a wonderful, my place I really needed to be was at a community college doing the institutional research, which meant I get to do studies on the students, surveys, statistical analysis of what groups were doing well, who needed support, things like that. So I was used to analyzing data. I spent 25 years in that job and about 10 years before in other jobs analyzing data, and yeah, that's the short version.
That's the short version. Yeah, I can imagine how do you apply that background to your new book? Tell us about that.
Well, it's all because I was a researcher and had a statistical mind that I did this project. I think I was breaking up with a boyfriend who I really loved, but we needed to part because we were just too different and living in different continents. And I thought, how can I get over him and also figure out who I'd really like to be with? I don't want to just get another him like him, just duplicate him. I want to see what kind of men I might like to be with. And I had never had any long relationships except with him just for 7 years. And I really hadn't really done this in a very focused way because I'd been so focused on my career. So I thought, I'm going to look at this as a research project and say, what type of man would be the best for me? And then of course, that book, that movie, 50 First Dates, came into mind. And then I knew as a statistician that 50 is a valid number to get significant results. So I kind of put those together. I thought, I'm going to go, in the movie, she went on 50 dates with the same man. And I'm going to go on 50 dates with different men as a sample. That's a big enough sample to see if it's a wide variety of types of men I'd like to be with. And so I did it as a research project, and I feel like that really helped the way I approach dating and how I was able to appreciate each man too, because it was a research project. It was each person didn't have to be, oh, is this my guy? Is this my partner? Is this going to be him? It was more, oh, what type is he? And how do I react to him? And how do we get along? And what are the good things about him and the good things about me? And are we a match, or could we potentially be a match? So it gave me this objective view, which I already had as a researcher. I just kind of applied it to dating. And it doesn't mean I was cold in all numbers about it. I mean, my heart totally got involved along the way also with certain men. But it gave me a framework at that. And the other thing it did is give me a goal. By having a goal of 50, it gave me momentum in dating. So I wasn't just taking the first person who came along or putting all my hopes in one person. And just if that worked out, I knew I could keep going. And that gave me a lightness about dating. So that while I was having fun dating, and some of my friends who were my age, this was in my late 50s, were not having fun dating. And I thought, this is a great way to do it.
Interesting. Well, we certainly, I won't say that we have a lot of needs here, but we do have an investment in our sponsors, because each one of them brings something different to our show. So with that in mind, let's take our first commercial break. We'll be right back with the Dr. Joe Show.
Okay. Yeah, you thought.
And we're back with the Dr. Joe show, I think. Are we back?
Yeah.
We're back, but you're so excited by this, Mark.
We're on Zoom, so you don't know.
We've never ever missed that cue. That was fantastic.
Well, you know, because they usually come back with my ad, right?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we were a little bit. So that's a great question, Mark.
The question I was asking off air was, did you get to 50? When your goal was to get to 50 dates after 50, did you reach that number truly?
I did. I went on all 50 dates. Towards the end, when I hadn't yet found my partner, I was vowing that I would do it again. I was going to start over because I was literally having so much fun. I was just used to it. This is how I live. I date and I enjoy these men, and then I move on. And it was, yeah. So I was going to move on, but I didn't have to.
So you were doing this as a data gathering study. Were you taking notes on people?
Well, I was writing in my journal, which I wanted to say is one of the best ways to take care of yourself when you're dating. It was part of my self-affirmation and appreciating myself, and writing down what had happened and how I felt about it, and giving myself a little pep talk. And I didn't know I was going to write a book. But I ended up writing down a lot of the details of the dates because of that.
So
I had it.
The journal.
Yeah, it helped. Yes, it did. It did.
Now, did you ever go at 27, go back to 9 and be like, I don't know, 9 might have been I got some good notes here on 9.
That's a good question, because I didn't do that, because really I did move on, and I lingered with men for a while, sometimes a few months, if I thought they had potential. So I lingered with one, but one came back to me. We had this one date just for tea one evening, and I thought we really connected, and he was talking about my intuition, and it was really great connection. But he didn't touch me. I offered my hand and my shoulder. He didn't touch me, and I'm very big on touch. After he left, he didn't neither of us emailed. So I figured, oh, well, this is part of the dating. It's okay when you're moving on. It doesn't hurt as much. It's like, okay, that didn't work out. I'm moving on to he was date number 4. I'm moving on to date 5. Well, I was at a party somewhere between date 19 and 20, and he came up to me at the party and asked how my dating was going. He knew I was dating other people. And I said, oh, it's fine. I think I'm up to date, almost to date 20. And he said, put me on the list. I said, what list? And he said, I want to have another date. And I said, but you didn't even want to touch me when we had that one date. And he said, I don't remember that. Try me. And so we got back together. We had a few other dates. He actually hardly ever touched me, but we had this emotional connection that ended up being very important to me. We ended up doing a lot of talking on the phone, and he was a big emotional support to me during a hard time at work. And he was a coach, and he was coaching me about work, and I was helping him open up emotionally. It was a nice exchange, and I'm glad he came back. So
you must have met a lot of wonderful people along the way then.
I did. And yes. I mean, they of all types. I mean, from businessmen, he was the type. There were a few spiritual businessmen that I really wanted to explore, but there were artists and contractors, and let's see, now I'm blanking out on everybody. Therapists.
Well, there were a lot of people, Carolyn.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Right, I don't have to go through their occupations. Yeah.
Do you intuitively know within 10 seconds whether there's a connection?
No. You know, in fact, there's another new book out about how to not die alone. And she talks about the spark is not an indicator. That spark is not a good indicator of whether it's going to work. And so one of the things I knew from taking a lot of personal growth workshops is the way to appreciate someone is to actually look for the goodness in them, and really, it kind of fits with your approach, I think. And give them a chance, and know that maybe you will react to them because maybe their physical aspect or their voice or something you don't like might put you off a little, but if you spend a little time with them, you could really like them. So I was going on that. Yeah.
That's so important, though, and I appreciate your application of the I am approach. I truly do. That's right. I mean, we can always see the value in each other. If we just look.
So Dr. Joe's new book is personal growth. it would go in the category of personal growth without a doubt. Who did you enjoy learning from most when you were doing your personal growth seminar?
Well, I was lucky to kind of find the Human Awareness Institute. I don't know if you know of them.
No, tell us about that. I saw that in your.
They are a personal growth. They are an organization that supports people loving themselves and loving other people. And their slogan has been building a world in which everyone wins. I think it really fits with your approach. And the great thing is they're based here in California, but they have a New England branch.
We should definitely
you should
connect
get them
us.
on.
Connect
Yes.
us. We'll get them on the show. Absolutely.
It's Human Awareness Institute, HAI.org. And I'm pretty sure we had to go to virtual workshops during COVID, but we're starting to open up.
That'd be great. Yeah, we would love to have them on the show. Sure.
So I learned a lot, and what we do a lot in those workshops is learning to listen to people and not try to fix them, and trusting that each person knows what they need if they are just listened to. It's the similar things. It's like if you can listen with respect and with love, people open up and feel really heard. And sometimes that's all you need to give to somebody. You don't have to stroke them or tell them something or something. So we do a lot of listening, and just listening. We do a lot of appreciating people. You know, what do we see that is great? We also do a lot of hard sharing, like what don't we like about ourselves, and sharing that, and just finding out that if you share that with other people, it's not so bad. They will be empathetic, not judgmental, at least in this setting. And so it's a lot of experiences of learning to be vulnerable with your heart and your words, and then we also do a lot of non-sexual touch, stroking faces, and just remembering. And that's a theme in my book, that there's non-sexual touch can be very nurturing along the way for dating, especially during dating, like dancing and just, stroking people's face and things. That's throughout my book.
So you were applying these HAI techniques.
I was.
Wonderful.
I was.
And what was the reception like for that? How did people respond?
Well, I can tell you a funny story, but most of the time, it was very subtle. They didn't know that I was using techniques. I was just being appreciative to them and listening. And the other thing I learned in those workshops was to not take things personally. So if someone didn't like me or didn't call back or was actually, no one was really mean, but that it wasn't anything to do with me. It was all to do with them, and I didn't have to take it personally. But the funny story would be, I was with someone, and I had.
Would you like to read an excerpt?
I would actually. Okay. Thank you.
Let's
it relates to the excerpt.
Let's hear an excerpt from the book.
I'll tell you this. The excerpt is this, and then the funny story comes after this excerpt. But
okay, great.
This is actually from date number 1, and it's called choice. Choice is a big theme in my book and in the high workshops. The highest HAI is pronounced high. Right. I was wondering, he said, if you'd like to come over and use the sauna. Well, what new age, sensual Northern California girl does not accept an invitation to a sauna at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night? Over the years in the Bay Area, I had spent many a night naked in friends' hot tubs or saunas. I'd also spent enough time in clothing optional situations to know that being naked didn't necessarily imply being sexual. And yet the thought of being naked with Randy in a sauna thrilled me. It was an innocent excitement. I was enjoying feeling turned on without assuming it would lead anywhere. I was good at letting men know how physically close or distant I wanted to be. 10 years of workshops on relationships had taught me the concept of being at choice, that at every moment I can choose differently. I didn't know what Randy was expecting, but I assumed that he would respect whatever my choices were. That's the excerpt.
That is so important. That is such an important excerpt, because so many people misinterpret, and if we're just listening and tuning into the person, we can understand their choice. So what was the funny story?
Well, the funny story is, so we got out of this, we had the sauna. It was all very natural because we'd been in clothing optional situations before. We were in the sauna, we got out, we put our robes on, and this was our first date, but we were attracted to each other. So we were kind of easing closer on the couch. And then we started kissing, which was just perfect, just what I wanted. And then, so I started stroking his face. You know, I'm used to that. I stroked his face. And he said, I want to make love to you. And I said, oh, you know, right now I'm just happy kissing and stroking your face. Would that be okay if we did that? And he said, well, yeah, but I can't stop. I just can't. I can't. If we do that, I will want to do more. So I said, well, thank you. It's a work night. I better go. And I had to pull back because it was I had to accept where he was. But that's what he said. He could not stop. And luckily he accepted me saying, Nat, I just want to do this. And we just came to a mutual agreement. And I left.
I hope it wasn't just luck. I hope it wasn't just luckily. Well,
Oh.
you said luckily he accepted your position as well. I hope it wasn't
right,
luck, but that it was his choice and his awareness of where you were at.
That was date number one.
That was date number one.
Mark is intrigued.
Did you start to think, this might not work as well as I planned?
No, I actually was disappointed when I walked out the door. And then I thought, wow, this is really working. I'm finding out what I like about someone, because he had actually talked a lot too and didn't ask me any questions. So I was saying, okay, I just found out that I like someone who listens more, and I like someone who might value non-sexual touch. And I would like someone who is more receptive to doing what I want to do. So I kind of had that information. So I felt like that's what I'm doing. That's what this is about, gathering information. I went back to my researcher self.
Right. And choice. Great choice. Title. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, it's a powerful opening to the book, because I'm sure that there were many, many more stories. I can't wait to hear them. We are in a very fortunate position that we also have people who give us stories, and they actually support us while they're doing those stories. So with that in mind, we'll take a commercial break, and we'll be right back with the Dr. Joe Show. But let's hear our sponsors' stories. Ben, let's hear some of them.
Stretch the kindness, rush with madness. Is it sadness or just a show?